What's going on, everyone? This is Lior with Compass out of Boston, and in this video I'm going to be talking about what it's like to live in the neighborhood of East Cambridge in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So let's get at it. What's going on, everyone? My name's Lior and I'm with Compass out of Boston, and in this video I'm excited to go all deep dive right into what it's like living in one of the cooler neighborhoods around the area, which is East Cambridge in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Now, two very quick things. Number one, guys, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, smash that button for me. I put out tons of new videos every single week. And number two, guys, if you're thinking about doing anything with real estate around the Boston area, hit me up. I get so many calls from you guys watching my videos, and I absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about doing anything, hit me up on phone, text, email, Instagram, whatever it is, and I will help you out. So let's dive right into today's content, and let's go right into East Cambridge. Again, one of my favorite neighborhoods. It's kind of a little bit off the radar neighborhood. Not a lot of people know about it. Especially if you're not from here. You probably know the more famous neighborhoods in Cambridge, probably like Harvard Square, Central Square, Porter Square, Cambridgeport. But East Cambridge is still kind of a little bit under the radar, in my opinion. And East Cambridge obviously is located in the east part of Cambridge. You've got Somerville to the north of you. You've got the Charles River right to the east of you. And just overall, I think it's super convenient. It's close. It's obviously in Cambridge, but it's the closest part to Boston. So for whatever reason you guys need access to Boston, it's a great spot. But we'll talk a lot more about that. Now, East Cambridge, if you have heard of it, you probably know it mainly for a lot of lab and tech space, right? So it's very heavily. There's a ton of lab space. A lot of biotech companies there, a lot of tech companies there, both startup and larger one. HubSpot, Amazon, tons of large tech there as well. And also for this conversation, I'm including Kendall Square as part of East Cambridge. Even though they're technically two different neighborhoods, I kind of consider them to be pretty kind of one and the same. You ask 5 different people, you get 5. It's one of those things, ask 5 different people, you'll get 5 different answers on that. So I'm going to break this video down in a couple of different categories. We're going to start by talking what there's actually to do in East Cambridge, both in terms of shopping, as well as your food bar, restaurant options. Then we'll talk about the convenience, why I think it's such a convenient neighborhood, particularly if you need to be going into Boston or other parts around the city. And then we'll also talk a little bit about the home prices, just so you guys can get kind of a feel of how the prices around there, in case you're considering potentially moving there. So let's jump right in. And in terms of things to do in Cambridge, East Cambridge, number one, most people think of is the Cambridge Side Mall or Galleria, depending how you want to call it. It is the only mall in Cambridge. And it's a pretty standard mall. You go inside and you've got a ton of usual suspect stores that you would probably see in any other mall. You got your classic retailers. You've got a lot of restaurants. I think they have the Cheesecake Factory too. They got your classic. It's basically your classic mall. Tons of stores, great options if you need to go shopping. The Cambridge Side Galleria or Cambridge Side Mall, as some other people may call it, is a great spot for that. The other thing that I really like about East Cambridge is there are actually a good handful number of parks that are there that provide fantastic green space. And especially in a city like Cambridge, where it can be really tight and there's a lot of people, green space is always absolutely invaluable. And in terms of a couple of parks, there's the Roger Street Park, which is actually undergoing some renovations. You also have the Ahern Field. So if you walk by that field, you'll probably see, different soccer games, different league sports, and all that fun stuff. So you do have a handful number of parks. Other thing about East Cambridge, even though it's not technically East Cambridge, right across from you is the Museum of Science. Technically that is Boston, but it is literally steps away from East Cambridge. So if you've never been to the Museum of Science and maybe you're not from here, I used to go there all the time. Especially as a kid, it's a great spot for families and so on. Now, in terms of restaurants and food options, there's a ton of variety in East Cambridge. Some of my personal favorite, I think there's a couple of amazing Mexican places in East Cambridge. Naco Taco and Lone Star Taco are some of my favorite Mexican places in all of Greater Boston. I don't know why, but I'm just super obsessed with them right now. So they're great spots. You've got other varieties as well. You do have a really cool establishment actually in East Cambridge that's like a mix of an arcade that also serves drinks and also has Roxy's famous grilled cheese. So if you don't know what Roxy's is, it's like a grilled cheese establishment. They got a food truck. They've got other locations, and they basically partner with an arcade establishment that you can go in at late night as well, during the day or late night. And get, like I said, play arcade games, have some drinks, have some grilled cheeses. So it's pretty cool. You do have a number of bars throughout as well. And even though it's not technically East Cambridge or Kendall, it's super close. Is the Lord Hobo restaurant, right, where they slash brewing, where they have a little outlet. You can go in, have a seat, get their beers, and they also serve some food. If you guys have seen my other channels, you know I'm a very big IPA person, and Lord Hobo is certainly on the top of my list. So again, not technically East Cambridge, but it's just a few blocks away. So you have super easy access to those kinds of establishments as well. Now, in terms of transportation and convenience, East Cambridge is super convenient. It does have an MBTA stop, so it's got the Green Line, the Lechmere stop, which is only a couple of stops away from the rest of Cambridge, and also goes right into downtown. That Lechmere line is actually part of the current ongoing Green Line extension, so that's going to actually continue going through Cambridge and into Somerville and Medford. So it's actually going to be super, super convenient whether you have to go further west or you're going to go east into the city. Do note that as of right now, the Lechmere stop is technically closed. So right now they're providing kind of temporary bus service, but hopefully once the project is completed, the stop will be open. And again, super, super convenient to get right into downtown. So for people that work in Boston, it's an amazing spot. Now, even if you're maybe even if you're driving, right, and you don't necessarily take the T, I think East Cambridge is probably one of the more convenient parts of Cambridge. Because if you go into Harvard and Porter Square and you need to go and drive into downtown, or you need to drive into the North Shore for work or whatever else you might need to, it's not the most convenient. I'll be honest. You kind of have to drive a little bit through Cambridge. But what I like about East Cambridge is you can get right into downtown, hop right onto 93. You've got pretty easy 93 north or south. You've got pretty easy access to the Pike as well. So in terms of, if you're going to be driving a lot, like I do, as a real estate agent, I drive all the time. And the East Cambridge would probably be the only part I'd really consider just because of its convenience. And finally, since I did include Kendall as part of East Cambridge, I should also say Kendall's got its own transportation. It is on the Red Line, on the MBTA system, so it's the Kendall/MIT stop. Again, another super convenient way for you to go right into the city. If you go east, the next stop right after Kendall is Beacon Hill, so you can see you're basically right downtown right after Kendall. So another great transportation method, which is why I said, in terms of convenience and transportation, East Cambridge is certainly really, really good for that. Now, in terms of homes and prices, again, it's still, even though it's East Cambridge, it's still part of Cambridge, and Cambridge is, of course, really expensive. Most of your homes and condos there, you're typically starting at about $800 to $900 per square foot. Again, you obviously have most of the inventory there. A lot of the inventory there is condos, but you certainly do have single family options if that's something you're going to be looking for. Now, one thing I will say about condo buildings, especially in East Cambridge, there are a handful of pretty large full service condo buildings, that range from like 200 to 300 units and plus. They will offer the full amenity package, which some people absolutely love, right? They'll have garage parking, they'll have some valet services. Now, if that's something you like, that's fantastic. The only downside to that, of course, is in these larger condo associations, their condo fees are typically going to be pretty high, at least a number of $100, $400 or $500 and plus. But if you prefer more of a condo building, like a 2 or 3 unit building, right, where you don't necessarily have to live in a massive condo building, especially in East Cambridge, there are a lot of really quiet streets that have smaller buildings that you can certainly break into and buy there. So hopefully that kind of starts to give you a feel of what it really is like to live in East Cambridge. Again, it's got a ton of great food options, restaurant options. It's super, super convenient. You got the green line stop, you got the red line stop. You can hop right onto 93, which I think is obviously really nice. And there's quite a bit to do. You've got a lot of green space. You've got the Cambridge Side Mall Galleria. The Museum of Science is right next to it in Boston. So from an overall lifestyle perspective, again, I think it's a super under the radar neighborhood. If you haven't heard of it, definitely check it out. And like I said, guys, in the intro, if you guys have any questions about this neighborhood or any other neighborhood around the Boston area, I get so many calls from you guys watching my videos, and I absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about doing anything with real estate around the greater Boston area, hit me up and I will take care of you.